Hello, welcome to Kim and Friends, where we laugh through the chaos, cry whenever the hell we feel like it, and always keep it real. Because as women, the conversations we have and the stories we share behind closed doors need to be heard out in the wild. I'm Kim, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen today. I really hope something resonates with you. Welcome to Kim and Friends. I'm so happy you're all here with us today. I am very excited to have my friend Margaret here in the studio with me and for all of you to get to know her. Margaret is a mama to Lillian, who is a 15-year-old sophomore, and she is a wife to Mike. She has a background in marketing and still works for a creative agency that specializes in client relationships, which, as you get to know her more, will make perfect sense. She's a Nutritious Life Master Certified Nutrition and Wellness Coach. Margaret is the founder, owner, and operator of Believe. Believe is for women ready to feel better without chasing perfection. And she's passionate about helping women feel good in their bodies and their lives with a mindset-first approach. But for the purposes of today's episode, Margaret is someone I have the very fortunate privilege to call my friend. Hi, Marge. Welcome to Kim and Friends. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. How'd I do? Did I get all that right?
You did. And I'm so happy to be on here and to be one of your friends.
Well,
for so long.
Well, I want to start just by explaining to everybody sort of how me and you connected. And then I really want to spend the bulk of our time just giving you the opportunity to share the core fundamentals of Believe. And I'm saying that right?
You are. Yes.
You made up a word. We're saying it right. Believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's no secret that the world's not really set up to support our wellness necessarily. So I want to hear about how you're helping women navigate that. And then specifically, when I first started talking about having you on, you sent me a link to like a 3-part series about self-care. And I just found what your sort of approach and mindset is on self-care, particularly enlightening. So we're definitely going to touch on that too. So I'm going to keep on talking because I think it's really interesting. And we actually even discussed this right before we started recording. I mean, of course, you're my friend. You're on Kim and Friends. Like, no doubt, you're my friend. But we've really only connected in, for me, a professional setting, and for you as my client, because you've been taking 5 a.m. classes at the studio that I work at for how many years now?
What year is it? It's 2026.
Yes.
So I started in 2019. So about 6 years.
6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
So our entire friendship has existed in like 2 to 3 minute conversations before, after, maybe sometimes during these 5 a.m. classes. So as I started to prepare for this, I'm like, well, I don't really even know that much about her. It was like a connected vibe, like an energy where it was like, this is very natural. This feels very good. I feel like I can tell you anything. And certainly our 2-minute conversations go deep real quick, which I love. But I don't know even if you grew up in the St. Louis area. I don't know anything about your family. I don't really know about anything outside of the fact that we both love to exercise for our mental wellness. So why don't you tell us more about you? Did you grow up in the St. Louis area?
Let's get into it. I did not. So I told you I grew up in a large family. My dad was in the military. We moved around quite a bit, but the bulk of my childhood was in Nebraska. And then in Omaha, the Omaha area. And then when I was picking colleges, I was really interested in going to St. Louis University. And my dad had a rule that, and this tells you a little bit about me, but my dad had a rule that we could go within 500 miles. And so St. Louis was about 450 miles. So I pushed it about as far as I could.
Love that.
Yeah. And then, So I went to SLU, and then I met my husband. He was not going to SLU at the time. He had started out there and then transferred to another university. And we had some mutual friends, and yeah, the rest is history.
That's funny. I ended up in St. Louis because I came here for school too.
I feel like I heard that. Yes. Yeah. And I was surprised to learn you were from Texas. Yes. Okay.
So tell me more about growing up in a military family.
Well, I love to tell people that, so I have 5 sisters and 1 brother. And my parents are about as opposite as they could be. So my dad was in the military, and my mom, as you know, we're going to talk about her more. She is a badass, and they are about as different as you can be. And so I guess I'm somewhere in the middle of them. But sometimes at work, they do call me Sarge Marge because I guess the military comes out. So there was like a lot of structure and routine in our house, which still sticks with me, but also a lot of chaos and a lot of loudness. But I love to tell people this who know me, because people think I have a really strong personality. But like in my family, I'm considered one of the more laid back ones. If that gives you any sense of what
that is interesting. So 6 total, 5 girls and 1 boy.
Sorry, 6 girls. So I have 5 sisters, and
7 total.
Yes, and my mom always introduced me. This is Margaret. She's 6 out of 7. So that was beautifully growing up.
Are you the youngest or the second from the youngest?
Second from the youngest.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a middle child to however you want to slice and dice it. I'm a middle child, and all the middle child things. Yes.
I would think that running a household with 7 children would require a good amount of structure and planning. But also, the chaos is to be expected.
Yes, 100%.
What's the age range from the oldest to the youngest?
I want to say it's about a 16-year difference, because my oldest sister is about 14 years older than me, and then my younger sister is only 2 years younger than I am. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So my oldest sister, I was in grade school when she went away to college. So in some ways, she's more like an aunt to me, because growing up, I see her at holidays and big events, basically. Sure. And then like the age difference between some of my sisters, I have nieces that are sort of the same age difference that way. Mm-hmm. And so like I have a sister who's about 9 years older than I am, and then I'm about 10 years older than her kids, and her kids are about 10 years older than my daughter.
So that's interesting, because you came from 7 and now you have an only child.
That was intentional. Yes.
Not intentional. Okay.
Yes.
And so talk to me about being a girl mom. I have Edna, who's about to be 14, and I know we've talked about the girl mom stuff a little bit in our quick snippets. And you've got Lillian, who's just like a little bit ahead of her. So what's that experience been like for you?
Well, she is all girl. Thankfully for me, she's all girl, because I am also all girl. Like I have no athletic abilities. I just always was into all the girly things, and so is she. So that's kind of a lot of fun. Like she has a dance this weekend, and my husband and I are going to an event tonight, and so we've been sort of like getting ready together, like our nails, and we both went and got spray tans last night, so I love doing that kind of stuff with her. And then the other thing I'm just seeing is, well, I'm actually really proud of her right now, because she had to pick a topic for a paper to write, and she wrote about diet culture, which I love. And so it was really fun working with her on that. And so I see her making some really, really good choices when it comes to like food and wellness and stuff like that. But I also see her struggling with sort of like what's happening in the culture. And she'll share with me, Mom, look at this girl, on TikTok. She's talking about all she eats all day is watermelon. Is that healthy? And I'm like, no. So she's really, it's kind of frightening to me, some of the stuff that they're exposed to. right now. And I feel like even, I've done my best to give her like a positive body image and healthy habits and stuff. And even with, I feel like that strong foundation, she's susceptible to just the culture and the dynamic out there.
Yeah, I definitely think any sentence that begins with all I eat, ... That's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
isn't it interesting, like how cyclical it is? Because it's not like, I mean, we didn't have social media, obviously, but we were sort of faced with those same things where it was like the all grapefruit diet or the all hard boiled eggs diet or the all, it's just the same shit over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I was listening to a podcast yesterday. They were talking about the new food pyramid and how there's been this like bit of a pendulum swing because, back in the 80s, it was all about thin, thin, thin. And then we got into low fat. And then in recent years, we've seen like more body positivity stuff and talking about strength and taking up space and all of that. But now with all the GLP-1s, it's kind of, we're going back to seeing like all these like really emaciated faces. And it's sort of like getting back to the thin, thin, thin. So yeah, it's a really interesting swing. Is your daughter starting to get into some of that stuff?
Definitely. And social media has definitely been a factor. Like I always have to, I'm a middle-aged woman. I get my social media through Instagram. Like
Right.
I just see the TikToks a week and a half later once they hit the gram. But she's more of a TikTok kid. So I have to be like, okay, I need to go over there. I need to check out what she's reposting, what she's sharing, what she's doing. And we went through like a little bit of a hiccup, I would say like the beginning of 8th grade, because she's in 8th grade now, where she was being a little more influenced about that stuff. But lucky for me, it's similar to you and Lillian. Like she talks to me about stuff. So I saw her sort of like shutting down and not discussing things like that with me as much. And it was like instantly a trigger to be like, okay, I have to like go deep. I have to like ruffle her feathers. We have to like do something about this. So because it was more of like, not starvation, but she was getting sort of into that like ways to like drink a lot of water so that you don't feel hungry. And it's like, no, if your body feels hungry, you probably do need water and some food, So we just sort of shifted the conversation and more talking about like what kind of food she likes, what she wants to eat, about all the different macronutrients, what they do for you and your body, that it's important to have all of them. And now we've sort of landed in this thing where she will like text me every week, like stuff she wants from the grocery store. And like recently she was like, I'm reading a lot of good stuff about, or reading. She's not reading it. She's seeing it on TikTok. But good stuff about sweet potatoes. Like, can we get some sweet potatoes? I'm like, of course. We used to have sweet potatoes all the time, but neither one of you would eat them. So I quit buying them. So now she's like, how do I make this sweet potato? And like, it's nice to, because of my bodybuilding background and that's like what she saw when she was really little, where I was eating all the food groups, but I was very restrictive with the numbers. And that was very eye-opening for me then and was a big contributor. I mean, besides just feeling miserable and not wanting to feel that way anymore, it was a big contributor to me not competing anymore because I'm like, what do I want to show her about food? Is this what I want to show her? That I'm, have a little food scale that I carry in my purse to restaurants? Like, maybe not. So I'm sort of seeing like the way that having that education about food is invaluable, but shifting to a more lifestyle approach to how you use that knowledge and not being so restrictive.
And she's seeing you now living a well-rounded, healthy lifestyle. Like you get exercise, you obviously exercise for work and you're taking care of yourself. And so she's seeing a more balanced approach.
Yeah, she's actually about to turn 14. And that means that she can come and take classes at the studio. And she texted me the other day and she was like, the weekend of my birthday, we should go take a workout together.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that.
I'm so excited.
My daughter to come. She does not want to come.
I want to
Yeah.
I want to make it like a Sunday thing. Like every Sunday, we'll take class together. So,
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so cute.
so talk to me about in 2019 when you first started taking classes, not just with me, but with the other coaches. But I am like one of the predominant early morning coaches, so it was a lot of me and you. What brought you in, and sort of what did you learn or discover, and what keeps you coming back?
Yeah. And you were my first coach. You're my OG. So you're like,
Your
you know,
first class was with me.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't think I remember that.
Yeah.
That means I love that.
So I had some friends who took these classes, and I would consider them, you know, very strong, in shape women. And so I wanted to try it, but I was really intimidated. You've talked about with some other women on this podcast about not enoughness, and that was me. I didn't feel like I was good enough or strong enough or in shape enough to come to class. So I actually was like doing some other things so I could get in shape to come to this class, which I then realized was ridiculous. It's like, I'm just going to go. And yes, you were my first coach. So I could not have asked for a better, you know, first coach, because you were so welcoming and immediately put me at ease, because I was coming in with this feeling of, you know, I don't belong here. And I also remember in that first class, I picked up like 10-pound weights, and I was telling you that I couldn't lift any heavier than that because I have a bad back. And now I realize that's total BS. And actually, most of my back issues have gone away since I started taking these classes. So
Yes.
what I was doing before was actually aggravating my back, which is hilarious. But anyway, anytime now, like we've been doing those like farmer carries with the weights, and I laugh at myself of like, oh, I can't do more than 10 pounds.
Yeah, because now you're like one of the people that's lifting the heaviest. Not one of the women that is lifting the heaviest, one of the people that is like, yeah.
Well, and you know some of the women in class that I get inspiration from, and it's really fun to like work out with them because we'll push each other and we'll steal each other's weights and hand each other weights and stuff like that. So that's a lot of fun. And I've never been I will tell you, I've never been a morning person before taking these classes, and I've never been a consistent workout person before taking these classes. Like I've always tried lots of different workouts, but I'd get like I'd get into something and then like lose interest with it. So the fact that I've been coming to these classes for 6 or 7 years consistently, you know, 4 or 5 times a week says a lot about how much I get from it. Yeah, it's addictive.
I love that. And just like circling back to that not enoughness, like that's just something that's lived inside me for a really long time. So that's probably why we sort of like instantly saw each other. Like we just, you know, it was mirroring something that we were carrying. And it's like, no, we don't have to carry this alone. We can carry it together, you know?
Yeah. I love that.
Well, let's shift towards Baviv and what sort of led you to wanting to become a wellness coach and build your own brand.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I started coming in 2019, and then I felt like I did kind of a pretty good job during the pandemic when we were all in lockdown, still taking good care of myself. And I didn't return to classes for a little bit. Like everybody was returning with the masks, and I kind of like held back from that. I was doing like stuff at home. So that's why I'm like, it's 6 to 7 years, because there was only a good 6-month break in there. But, I was feeling okay after that, and good, but not good enough. And I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't really happy either. And I didn't hate the way I looked, but I didn't love it. You know, I was kind of like, well, you're middle age, you're in midlife. This is fine. It's fine. Everything's fine, right? It's fine. And then finally one day I was like, it's actually not fine. I don't want to be just fine. I want to feel better than just fine. And so I actually remember I was sitting in a parking lot, waiting to pick up my daughter for dance. And I just was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And I signed up for a program where I worked with a health coach, and I told myself, I'm gonna give this 3 months. I hope it works. And it actually ended up. I ended up doing the program for about 5 months, and I felt so incredible afterwards. And not just because I felt better about my body, but I just felt so much more clear and energized and focused. And I just wanted to help other women feel that way. And I started, my mom actually at the time was a health coach. My mom has had many careers, Kim. We need to dig into that. We'll dig into her influence maybe in a little bit. But so I kind of knew about the health coaching industry through her. And so I went and I did I took a course, and it took me about 6 to 8 months to do the certification. And one of the things I noticed was how often women, including myself, we quiet our own voices, and how often we're putting ourselves into boxes, and how often we're looking for rules or the right way or the gold star. Like even going through this program, I was like, oh, well, I'm not like, I don't have like the perfect sculpted arms. I'm not strong enough to like go out there and be a health coach. And one of the things I've realized is just, well, one, how many women are feeling this like not enoughness, but how much room there is for all different kinds of approaches to wellness. So,
well, and that healthy bodies look so many different ways.
Yeah.
And that is the gift that working in group fitness has given me. Like, I can see healthy bodies. I mean, they're like thumbprints. They're not, there's not one way for them to look. And I also just want to circle back real quick and acknowledge and celebrate you for coming through the pandemic feeling just fine. The fact that that just really resonated with me. Like, of course, there was like room for growth, and it was time to make a change, and it was time to shift to something else. But it really resonated with me that you made it through that. A lot of people did not feel just fine. So I commend you for making it through that 6 month, 8 month, year and a half period, being like, okay, I sustained, I maintained, got through, I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, and I really like what you said about there's not one way. And there's not one way for a healthy body to look. And there's also not one way to approach your wellness, your fitness, your nutrition. Like, it's different for everybody.
Correct.
And there's just so much out there that is so noisy and confusing, I think, for women. And if you try to do all of it, it's just overwhelming, and it makes you feel even worse. And I think we deserve better than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not, we can all do the exact same thing. And it's not going to work the same for all of us. Our bodies are still going to look different. They're still going to respond differently. It's about finding the 2, 3 to 5 things that you feel like are sustainable, that are maintainable. And that might be one change that you make for 3 years before you're ready to take that next step or make that next change. Or the one change might be all it takes.
I think it's interesting how it's just one change after one change after one. That's been my experience for me and for some of the clients I work with. You make one small change, and then the next change builds on top of that, and the next change builds on top of that. And so if you take it sort of a one step at a time approach, it doesn't have to be complicated or overwhelming, and it just becomes a part of your life and a part of who you are.
And also the knowing that there will be complicated, overwhelming days. When you can sort of step back and look at your, journey or path as a whole. And what have I done in the past year? What have I done in the past 18 months? Not what's happened in the last 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a picture of your overall journey.
Right. That.
Talk to me about Baviv specifically. Why did you name it that? What was sort of at the heart of that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I like made up words. But I was inspired by the French phrase, I'm going to say it wrong because I don't speak French, bon vivant, which literally translates to one who lives well. And then every time I say that, one who lives well, I'm like, I get a little like, oh, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what I want. Because it's not, you were talking about, there's not one way for look a person. I think a big part of that is feeling good. Like you have to be able to, you want to do all these things for strength and longevity, but also life. Like we have to live our lives. And what is the point of it all if you're not enjoying it? Right. Like,
Right.
How food is, and I love making healthy food. I love it, but like enjoy it. What's the point of it? Right. Like I'm not like, I think there are people who will make something good for you and they don't care. Actually, my mom and my sister, they don't care. Like, I don't care what it tastes like. I'm just going to eat it. Or some people will be like, I'm going to eat the same thing every day and I don't care. And for me, that's not, I want to really enjoy eating and sit for life. I want to enjoy my life. And that's part of what it is for me. I talk about mind, body, and joy. So, it starts with your mindset and feeling good in your body, but also finding the joy in life.
Right. And for some people, that's being able to eat nutritious food that also tastes really good.
I mean, for me, that's a big part of it.
So let's shift a little bit. I referenced it earlier, but you did write this 3-part blog series about self-care.
Yeah.
And your perspective is really refreshing. So tell me a little bit about shifting your mindset on self-care. Something that popped out to me was how it's not an indulgence, it's your foundation. So tell me a little more about that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times self-care gets confused with those moments of luxury, like a massage or a pedicure. And I do think those can be self-care. It's like one type of self-care, but that's kind of a limited view. And so the way I think about it is self-care is the practice of intentionally supporting your own well-being, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And then from there, you can protect your energy. You can feel your best, and you can, show up in all your glory. So when we think about it just more of like a moment to like treat yourself, then that's when you start saying things like, oh, I'm going to have this glass of wine to treat myself. And no shade to a glass of wine. I love a good glass of wine. But there's a difference between having that with some intention and having it sort of in a moment of, I deserve this kind of a thing. There's like a different mindset there. And I think one of the things that I was thinking through when I wrote those articles was it's not just that in the moment feeling that's important about self-care. It's also sort of what it gives you later down the road, right? Like, it doesn't feel good to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but damn, it feels good at 6 o'clock, right? Like by 6 or 7, I'm feeling really, really good. So sometimes it's the things you do in the moment for the later. And I think that's a really important part of self-care, is that you're thinking forward about not just how am I going to feel right now, but how am I going to feel tomorrow.
Well, and you talk too, when you think of it like as a foundation, you talk about like not waiting until you're just like completely spread thin.
Right.
Like making it more of a foundation and like a consistent practice so that things stay more status quo, that it's not like I'm losing my shit. I'm frustrated with my husband. My kids don't do anything around here. I'm the only person that is keeping this house running. Fuck it, I'm having a glass of wine. It's like I have a regular one night a month that I go on a date by myself and try a new type of red wine because I know I like that.
I love that. Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, is that sort of what you're talking about with that, like having intention with it instead of it being like a reaction to a frustration or a feeling of not enoughness or, when your tank is just on dry and then you're just trying to like band-aid it and not like keep yourself sustained and satiated.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, think about when you're just like hungry, right? Like you eat different when you're super, super hungry and super thirsty. You're like wolfing something down versus, oh, yeah, I'm starting to feel hungry and it's lunchtime. I'm gonna have like a reasonable lunch. Or, if you're I love to use the road trip analogy. You're going out for a road trip. You're not going to start with an empty tank of gas, right? Like that's insane. you would fill your car up with gas. And in my case, I make sure I have good playlists and I make sure I have snacks ready to go. Like you're prepared for it. So yeah, there's intention behind it. And I think having one of the things I work with my clients on is like, what are your sort of like, I call them must-dos, which isn't very creative, but it's like the 3 to 5 things you need to do every day to feel your best. It's like and then we talked about, one habit. That becomes like your baseline. It's like at a minimum, I'm doing these 3 things. And it becomes just such a part of your life that it's not even hard because it's just what you do. It's just how you live. And then that becomes a new baseline that you can build on and build on and build on. And as you were kind of asking me about this, I just keep thinking about my mom because I learned so much of this from her that I watched her as when I was growing up. She very much was in this like, yes, I have 7 kids, but I'm also taking care of myself. And so I just like watched her example of you can take care of yourself so that you are more filled up to take care of other people. Because if you're empty, what good are you?
I love that because I feel like she was kind of ahead of her time. That was not the norm. Like there was much more of a martyrdom to motherhood, like in the 80s and even before, that was just like, well, and like my mom was definitely not a martyr, but the situation was just different. She was, raising us and specifically me because I'm the youngest of 3 on her own, so what do I want today? Like that was just probably not even a question in her mind for the better part of a decade. And now I'm getting to see her finally getting what she deserved then. Like in retirement, she is thriving and she's had some health setbacks. She has macular degeneration by no fault of her own. That's something that has just happened to her. She hasn't stopped driving. It'll be a year at the end of this summer that she hasn't been able to drive. And she's always been a big like walker and she likes movement and exercise disguised as something else. Like she'll kind of balk at like going to a gym or like, a workout class where I'm like, okay, literally it's my job, Mom, but that's fine. But she took this, I can't drive anymore, which was very hard for her. A single mom, she's clearly very independent, taken care of herself for a very long time. And now this huge part of being able to be independent is stripped away. She's like, well, I'm walking. Like I am walking to go pick up my prescriptions. I'm walking to meet my friend at Breadco. I'm walking to drop off or exchange my packages. So I'm seeing sort of what you saw in your mom growing up. And I certainly, had lots of great lessons and learned lots of great things from my mom growing up. But there was just not even any space for her to be like this is something that I have to intentionally go do for myself. Like I saw her running on fumes for a very long time, and damn, did she do a good freaking job of it. Like, shout out, mom.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times that we're in survival mode. I love, there's so much that you said that I want to touch on, but I love that your mom is embracing the like just movement in her life. I think you told a story recently about her going on a hike, and she was like one of the oldest people like on this hike. And I love that. That's awesome.
No, she went to New Zealand, Marge. She went to New Zealand. She is about to be 79. So this, I think she would have like just turned 78. And her friend went with her. That's, I think, is like in her 60s. And they were with this group of 8 people. The other 6 people were in their 20s and 30s. So she was with this group of 7 other people on this like tour, like outdoorsy, staying in hostels, hiking, horseback riding. They were all in their 20s and 30s. And I was like, Mom, you are goals for them. Like they are looking at you and being like, wow, I can really live this way the rest of my life. Like I can be doing things like this into my 70s and beyond. Like I'm sure you were like such a light for all of them to be like, wow, it's not like I got to do it now because who knows how long I'm going to be able to do it. Yeah. Like, no, you can keep on doing it. Yeah. She's pretty badass.
I love that. I love that. I think part for my mom, I was the 6th kid, right? So she was in her 40s, and you know what it's like in your 40s. That's when you really like come into who you are. And so I think part of what was happening, she was beginning to really know who she was and what was important to her. And damn it, she was going to make time to run a marathon.
That would be interesting and probably for another episode, but like the experience that your oldest sister had, like with her as a mom, is probably like so different.
Oh, yes. Yes. We talk about it all the time, how we had very different parents, because my older sisters had my parents in their 20s where they were throwing these wild parties and everything. And then, we're on the tail end where they're like, sure, go do whatever you want.
Okay, so let's get back to the self-care stuff. So specifically, you talk about 3 daily rituals you developed.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak more to those?
Yeah. And this goes back to what I was saying about, I had a friend ask me one time, well, what are like the 4 or 5 things you think everybody should do? And I was like, that's a really hard question because everybody's life is different. And what are you trying to accomplish? Important to you? What's practical in your life? And so I got it down to these 3 rituals, because to me, the ritual is less about the specifics of a routine and more about just these little moments that you give yourself and almost like little gifts that you can give yourself. So I break it into 3 parts. So morning mindset, which is just when you wake up in the morning, pick your tone for the day. And I usually do this kind of by the season. So we're in February. So for me, it's been the season of love. And I've talked a little bit about just setting the tone and letting love set the tone. And for some people, that might be like a really natural thing. And like, of course, why wouldn't you let love set the tone? But like for me, it's not the natural thing. So, just having a mindset in the morning, and that doesn't take any time. Like you can do that while you're brushing your teeth or, in 5 seconds before you get out of bed. And then, I think it's common to have like sort of like a morning thing and a night thing, right? And so you and I talked about our nighttime ritual of like having the tea, and that's like just a lovely way for me to like shut down the day. But that's what it is. It's like signaling to your body, you've done it all today. Like it's time to like simmer down, right? Mm-hmm. I think so. Everybody talks about like a morning and a nighttime routine. I think what we miss a lot is the midday. So I call it a midday pop of joy. And fun fact that I learned when I was thinking about this is the idea of the happy hour actually started on a naval ship, which is really funny because my dad was a captain in the Navy. And originally it was not about drinking alcohol, but it truly was meant to be just like a moment of pause and joy in your day. And I think sometimes what happens, especially in our culture, is we're go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden we get to sit down and our nervous systems are fried. And that's when we're like reaching for the chips and guac or reaching for the cocktail because we just need to come down quickly. But if you give yourself sort of like just a little moment to reset and reclaim in the middle of the day, it can just do wonders for your nervous system. And then
this is very much cultural because other cultures do have this. There's siesta. And we don't have that.
Exactly. There are other cultures have the siesta. In Italy, there's like in your meal, there's an intermezzo where a lot of times they'll bring out a sorbet or whatever, which is meant to like be like a pause between courses. So there's like this rhythm that's been established that in our culture, we just sort of ignore. And it doesn't have to be a 2-hour nap, right? It can be a 10-minute walk. It can be 2 minutes just standing in the sun. It can be 30 seconds just doing some breathing exercising at your desk. Just something to bring yourself, back to.
So I call it downtime. So obviously, you all know I get up very early most days of the week. So even on the days I don't necessarily have to be up early, my sort of circadian rhythm, my brain sort of naturally wakes me up around 3 a.m. every day. So I have DT and it's downtime. And sometimes it can happen at like noon or sometimes I'm doing things until later, but it's usually sometime in that like noon to 3 window before I have to pick kids up. We got a fancy schmancy bed that has like the head and the feet adjustments and it vibrates. And I never really fall asleep usually. So, it could also be equated to like a power nap, which my dad's always been like a hardcore power napper because he's a super early morning person too. So he'll just like close his eyes for like 5 minutes and then be like, okay. But I get in our bed. I like to lay on top of the comforter and I have like a special little quilt and I put it on 0 gravity. So like my feet is higher than my head and I turn on the vibrations and I'll set a timer for like maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes, just depending on how long I have. And I just it's like a central nervous system reset.
I love that.
And it's amazing. And it's like somatic too, because of the vibration. It's like, I literally like picture like the stress of the first part of my day, just kind of like shaking out of my system.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
And in the morning, mine's a little simpler. This is so simple, but I think we should point it out because it can be simple. Like I have a cup of coffee. And I wake up, in general, I can wake up in a pretty negative headspace, not about my day or about other people or about relationships, but just about myself. Like that not enoughness is very alive and well, like right when I wake up. And the negative, so I know, strange, right? But this is how I combat it. Like I am not a snoozer. Like I swing off that bed. Well, actually, I like to like push back to down dog. And then I do a couple cat cows. And then I sit up on the edge of the bed. I make a cup of coffee. And my first sip of coffee, I'm like, today is going to be such a great day, Kim. Like, I'm so excited to see what gets to happen to me today. So that's my morning. And then the midday is the little 5-minute bedtime. In the evenings, I make tea as well. And I'm like, I don't know. I like fantasize about being one of these like fancy loose leaf tea people, but I'm not. I'm very much like, okay, I'm going to go to the tea aisle at Shucks and I'm going to get like the nighttime tea for when I need to sleep. And I'm going to get smooth move tea for when I'm backed up and I'm, and so these are all like very simple things like. And I have a nighttime tea every night. And when I was just out of town with my best friend, Claire, she gets a lot of airtime on here. I am not sorry. She has a cup of chamomile tea every night too. So she's like, do you want a cup of tea? And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a cup of tea every night. And I put the zero gravity on and I set it on my chest. And she's like, Kim, it's your titty tea. Just like the warm mug, like sitting on my chest is just like calming and like relaxing. And then I sip it. And like you and I talked about 9 times out of 10, I wake up in the morning and I've taken like 5 sips of it.
Yeah.
Like sitting on the nightstand. But yeah, I got my morning. I'm excited to see what the day's going to bring. It's going to be a good day. And then midday, I do the sort of somatic vibrations. And then evening, I have my titty tea.
You're already doing it. You have your 3 daily rituals. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm very concerned about you waking up with not enoughness, and I want this to change because it always blows my mind when I meet really strong women and I hear this. I'm just like, what? And it's so often it's like women I look up to who are having these feelings, and it's just like, I mean, if you're feeling this way, what change do the rest of us have?
I will say it has gotten so much quieter over the years. And I think I talked about it early on in the podcast in Michelle Obama's book. And again, I can't remember the name of it, and I couldn't that day either. But the way she speaks about that voice in her head and how it really like released me from trying to get rid of it, because she's like, it's there. It lives. She's there. She lives inside me. Sometimes she's louder, sometimes she's quieter, but she is not in the driver's seat. Like, and that was like you said, when you like hear from these women that inspire you and they have this thing, I'm like, well, if Michelle Obama is not getting rid of her, I'm not getting rid of her either. Like, if anything, I just feel like so seen that like even these like, I mean, I have people I encounter every day that I respect and admire, but Michelle Obama is like, whoa, like,
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, if Michelle can live with it, so can I, and I'm going to take her advice. So it has got, and just the fact that I like acknowledge it, like I wake up, maybe she's a little louder some days than others, but I'm like, oh, there you are. Okay, well, let's go.
I like thinking about it as just a part of you who some days is quieter and some days is louder. I think that's interesting. You should give her a nickname.
Yeah, I haven't named her, but I do really think of it as sort of like sometimes she's in the passenger seat, sometimes she's in the back seat, sometimes she's in the trunk. Like, and yeah, it's like the closer she is to me, the louder she is. She's just sort of this passenger that moves around in my life vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? There's also other versions of me in that car that are like totally awesome. Like there's also the woman that takes that sip of coffee and says, Kim, it's going to be a great day. Like something awesome is going to happen today, especially because I have this gift of my job where I encounter so many people all day long that just like give me these surprise gifts all day long. And it doesn't even have to be a conversation. It might just be me noticing somebody who's been in class for a long time and their form is better, or I see them raising their speeds, or they used to always be late and now they're showing up on time. Like just these tiny little gifts all day. And sometimes they're huge. Like sometimes it's somebody like bearing their soul to me, which I'm like, God, the fact that you feel safe with me and talking to me about this is just like, it's a gift to me, you know, that's the sort of energy I'm putting out and that they received that. So yeah, and that's, you know, the first thought might be, you know, something negative or something bad, but what do I do with that thought? I move past it. I move on, you know, like that's not my narrative. Not like feelings aren't facts. You had that feeling, you give it as much power as you decide to give it.
Yeah. Well, and I think the way you're talking about it is like very, it's very self-accepting. It's like, I'm accepting that there are a lot of these different aspects to me. And some days they're going to be the aspects I'm more proud of, and some days they're not, but they're all still part of who I am. I think that's a really healthy way to look at it. And I think I'm going to, try that on. I like it.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it. So we talked rituals. In the third part of this series, you talk about how you can know whether or not it's working. I think we maybe talked about this a little bit earlier when it was like pan out, like do the rituals not for a week, but for, somewhat consistently for 3 months. So talk about how you know it's working.
Yeah. So actually a big part of my process and my sort of journey has been journaling. And I have time set aside. For me, it works to do it Sunday mornings, but Sunday mornings and Sunday evenings, I just write down, and I have some kind of like basic questions I review with myself with just like, what choices are feeling good? What feels good? And I often start my client calls with this. It's like, tell me about your last week. Like, what felt good? What felt nourishing? And it's really, for me, it's really important to think about the choices that I made that did that. Because that's like really kind of self-empowering. It's not just about like, oh, somebody sent me a gift and that felt really good. Sure, if that felt good, that's great. But what are the choices you made, right? Because there's all this chaos happening around us. What are the choices that we're making within that? Life, my sister always tells me, life is about choices. So I just kind of go through that. Like, what are the choices that felt good, where I felt like really in my, good about myself, in my power, and then maybe some choices that didn't, where it felt off, where, I just did something that I'm not proud of, and it didn't feel good. Like, it felt good in the moment, it didn't feel good the next day, kind of a thing. And then I think about lessons learned. Like, what did I learn? And that can be something like, oh my gosh, I learned that peas have a lot more protein than I thought, or just a truth that I was reminded of. And for sure, one of the lessons I'm going to write down this week is thinking about myself in parts and talking to her in parts. I really love that. And then I always write down something that I ate that I loved, because food is important. But that helps me when I look back on that stuff. It's like, you were talking about thinking about your journey. It's like when you look back at like what was good about the week, the choices that you made. So even if I don't feel good about some things that I did, I can more focus on those choices that I made that did feel good. And then I can kind of think about, okay, well, what do I want to take with me next week, right? Like, the things I don't feel good about, I'm leaving them here. They're not serving me. But what did I learn? What felt good that I want to keep doing? I'll take that with me into the next week. So I think it's mostly just about paying attention to those choices that feel good, right? Like, I've talked to people who like went to some specialist that told them, actually, I was talking to Kristen before class. She's like, yeah, I talked to this lady. She was like, oh, you just need to eat a banana before class. And I'm like, if you eat the banana and you feel good, great. But if you ate that banana before class and it didn't feel good, then maybe that banana is not for you. And that's okay. And that just goes back to everybody's choices can be different, and it's going to be different for everybody. This is so individual.
Well, I think if I was having that conversation with Kristen and she was maybe looking for like more energy or feeling better to start the class, my first question would be, do you like bananas? Because if you don't like bananas, you shouldn't have one before your workout. Like,
yeah.
And I think, and you, I'm sure, will relate to this when it comes to nutrition and talking to people about food. I'll have people come to me and be like, well, they gave me this list of things I can't eat. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work in my head. Like, I don't know what this means about me, but the second you tell me I can't do something, I am maybe not obsessed with doing it, but I have so many questions and want to know why and get so obsessed with all these things that I'm being told I can't have or I can't do.
Yeah.
So why aren't we starting from a place of like, here is a myriad of foods you can eat. Like you can have all of these foods, some in moderation, some once a week, some every day, some once a month. Like functioning from a place of like what you can do or what you can have and not what you can't. And I also think when you started talking about journaling, I have gone through like journaling phases. And again, I've gotten to a place of great forgiveness with myself. Like I'm not like beating myself up that I don't journal right now. I feel like when I need to, I do. And when I don't, I don't. But this idea of doing it once a week feels so much more. It's like, oh, I have to journal. I have to journal. I have to journal. Well, I have to do it every day. Well, I missed 2 days. Well, like just finding like one moment once a week. For you, it's on Sunday. For others, it may be a different day where you can sort of reflect on the past 7 days. And that feels like so much more of like a good bite-sized piece of journaling than like, I bought this new fancy journal and it has all the dates in there and I have to write on every day. And then like, I go to it and I'm like, oh, I have 5 empty days. And now I like have some kind of like weird bad feeling. And like, this isn't what this journal was supposed to do, you know?
No. And for me, I like having the structure of the questions because I like structure. But it makes it not hard, right? It's like, I'm just like, I'm going to answer these questions. And then if something else is on my mind, I'll write about it. But yeah, I just try to make it easy. I will bring you one of my journals, Kim, and my little book, and you can tell me what you think about it if it works for you. Actually, I had wanted to make a guided journal because I was using one that I really liked. But of course I like started tweaking, I was like, I would answer certain parts of it and not others. And so I wanted to make a guided journal. And then I ended up just printing these journals with an insert. And I'd been so surprised by the feedback because people are like, oh, I'm going to use it for gratitudes, or, oh, I've been wanting to, write about whatever. And so now I have a place to do it. And so I'm really glad that I actually left it more free because people are choosing to use it in different ways. And I think the point is, again, like everything we've talked about is like just finding what works for you and what feels good and what is ultimately going to be, affirming and life-giving for you.
Awesome. Well, I definitely want to like think about this once a week journaling thing. I really like the idea of that.
Good. Yeah, you talked with your friend last time about your writing and how you have to really like it like starts coming out of you and then you're ready. I thought that was really interesting. But I also think there's something to just building that muscle, of putting something on paper and then having something to mess with later.
Well, and when you're journaling, it's not about an end product. It's just, maybe it's one sentence one week and maybe it's 3 pages the next. Like it's just about getting it out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have all these like random thoughts and feelings, like maybe written down in my like work notebook and then in the notes app of my phone or just in a voice text to somebody that I feel like would understand it. And like, it just lives in, but that's kind of journaling. Like it's just kind of like randomly spread everywhere. And it would benefit from getting back to like a regular practice. Mm-hmm. So that is my thing that I am taking away from this is that weekly journaling approach. I like that.
I love that.
Well, Marge, I feel like I could just talk and talk and talk and talk with you, but I want to make sure people know more about what you do, sort of what they could expect in a first-time meeting with you if they were curious about that. And then also like what it looks like if somebody's doing an ongoing program with you.
Yeah. So the best way to connect with me is either Instagram or on my website, but my website has some more information about my personalized coaching and it's sort of depending on what you need, we go from there. But there's, I ask a few questions to get started just to understand kind of where you are and what you're hoping to accomplish. And then I start with just a first time intake. And that is there's no commitment there. It's like a 30-minute conversation of like, what's going on? What's going on with you? What do you think you need? What are you trying to accomplish? And then we kind of design the program from there. But I have different levels. So most of my clients end up doing we start with 12 weeks and might go longer. But I also have some options that are just if you want to do something, you want like a big challenge for a lot of women is just knowing what to eat. And so we can have a whole conversation on just what to eat, Kim. I can talk about food all day long, but that's that's kind of a great place to start sometimes is just with, okay, just tell me what to eat. And so I don't have like a bank of like, here's what you should eat. It starts with, what are you eating now? What do you enjoy? What's doable in your life? And then I create sort of a guide for them based on that. But then for like the programs, we do a call usually every other week for about 30 minutes. And then I have an app that they can message me and every day. So I have some clients who will message me multiple times a day with what's happening, good or bad. And we celebrate and we course correct when we need to and that kind of thing.
Well, and I will say on your Instagram, we've talked a lot about like your foodiness and like how much you love food, you enjoy good tasting food, but I just want to make a point to let everybody know the things that she's sharing are like simple and fast too. Like, I mean, I'm sure you do really enjoy the cooking process and I'm sure you can cook for hours and make a marinade and let it sit. And that's definitely a part of your foodiness. But I like how what you're sharing on Baviv, on Instagram specifically, is like, it can be really yummy first, nutritious second, and like fast and easy. Like 3 to 5 ingredients and like 30 minutes or less, which I think we can all agree consistently across the board as middle-aged women who are even just feeding ourselves, not even families. Like it can't always be drawn out and insane.
Right. Because I do love to cook, but I found that I was like stressing myself out, like trying to make these new recipes that are always more complicated than they need to be and always take longer than they say they're going to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really found that like during the week, it's really nice to have some things that I don't have to think about. Because for me, the cooking process can be relaxing. It can be like my creative time and my time to just be away from the computer and like decompress. Maybe I'm talking to a friend, maybe I'm listening to a podcast, maybe I'm listening to music, but like I want that time to be kind of relaxing. And I feel like if you're trying to follow a bunch of steps, it takes away the relaxing part, So I try to make it easy. And again, we can have a whole separate conversation about menu planning.
Well, hopefully some people will hear this episode and will be interested in reaching out and having those longer conversations. I want you to tell everybody, what is your Instagram and what is your website?
Yes. Instagram is Baviv Co. And will you put a link in the show notes?
I believe so. I don't do the show notes, but I believe so.
It's Baviv Co, BVIVECO. And then the website is baviv.co, B-BIVE.co.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
and of course, I follow you on Instagram. So if anybody sees.
Well, and thank you. Thank you so much. Right out of the gate, you have been like first time listener, like always listening, like within a couple of weeks of an episode, always like giving me feedback. And like, I've just felt that support and I really appreciate that.
Well, I love what you're doing. And I also know what it's like to put yourself out there and it's very vulnerable. And it's rewarding, but I know it's scary too. So I'm just really proud of you and I'm really, really happy to be a part of it.
Thank you so much for taking an hour out of your day today. I know this is just going to breed more good things to come for you, for me, for everybody who chooses to listen. And I'll see you Monday morning at 5 a.m., right?
I guess so, yes.
Oh my gosh. Have so much fun at your gala.
Thank you.
And I hope Lillian has a wonderful time at her dance.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I hope a great weekend, Margaret. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Kim. Have a great rest of your day.